Paul lived in Claremont, Florida. He was 60 years old. His hair was blonde, like the sun. He had a short, neat beard. Paul used a wheelchair most times, but he could walk a little, just a few steps with great effort. He loved his quiet life. It was a simple life. He found joy in small things. His greatest joy was his gerbils. They were more than just pets. They were his tiny, furry family. He had 3 of them: Whiskers, Nibbles, and Sandy. Each one had a special place in his heart. He loved their soft fur. He loved their bright, curious eyes. They brought light into his days. They were his constant companions. Every morning, Paul would greet them. He would carefully clean their homes. He gave them fresh food and water. He would talk to them softly. His voice was gentle, full of affection. He watched them play for hours. Their tiny paws scurried. Their little noses twitched. Their playful antics made him smile. He felt a deep connection to them. Claremont was a peaceful town. Palm trees swayed in the warm breeze. Sunshine often filled Paul's small home. His days were usually calm. He found comfort in routine. The gerbils were a big part of that routine. Their presence was a steady comfort. He never imagined that peace could be broken. He couldn't imagine life without them. One Tuesday morning, Paul woke up. The Florida sun streamed through his window. It promised to be a beautiful day. He felt the usual warmth in his heart. He was ready to see his little friends. He prepared their morning treats: some seeds, a tiny piece of apple. He looked forward to their happy squeaks. It was a ritual of love. He moved towards their special corner. His wheelchair glided quietly on the floor. He reached the table with their cages. But something was wrong. A terrible stillness filled the air. The usual cheerful sounds were missing. He looked closer. His breath caught in his throat. The cages were open. The cages were empty. His beloved gerbils were gone. A wave of disbelief washed over Paul. This could not be happening. Not to him. Not to his gentle creatures. He checked again, his hands trembling. He looked under the table. He looked behind the curtains. Panic began to rise in his chest. A cold dread filled his heart. His eyes searched desperately, but they were truly gone. Then, the awful truth hit him. Someone had taken them. Someone had stolen his gerbils. Why would anyone do such a cruel thing? Tears welled up in Paul's eyes. His heart ached with a deep sorrow. It felt like a piece of him was missing. The silence in the room was unbearable. It was a silence full of loss. Paul sat in his wheelchair, stunned. The shock was deep. But then, a new feeling emerged. It was a spark of determination. He could not just sit there. He had to find his gerbils. He loved them too much to give up. His physical challenges were great, but his love for them was greater. He would do whatever it took. His first call was to the Claremont police. He explained what happened. His voice shook, but he was firm. Then, he decided to make flyers. He found pictures of Whiskers, Nibbles, and Sandy. He wrote, "Missing gerbils. Please help." He printed many copies. He knew he had to spread the word. He hoped someone had seen something. Getting around was not easy for Paul. His wheelchair helped him move outside. He could take a few painful steps when needed. He went out into his neighborhood. He spoke to his neighbors. He showed them the flyers. He described his little friends. Some people looked sympathetic. Others seemed busy. But Paul kept going. The search was emotionally draining. Each passing hour without them felt like an eternity. Sometimes despair would creep in. He would feel his old body ache. He would feel his spirit sink low. But then he would think of their tiny faces, and a new surge of hope would push him forward. He held on to that hope tightly. Days passed. Paul continued his search. He felt weary but did not stop. Then a young woman approached him. She was one of his neighbors. She said she saw some children. They were near the local park. They had a small cardboard box. This was a few days ago. A tiny spark ignited in Paul's chest. Could it be them? He had to find out. The park was not far, but for Paul it felt like a long journey. He maneuvered his wheelchair carefully. He pushed himself, step by step, when he had to. The sun beat down. He was tired, but the thought of his gerbils spurred him on. He searched around the playground. He looked under bushes. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and anticipation. And then he saw it. A small, worn shoebox. It was tucked beside a park bench. He moved closer, his heart racing. He carefully opened the lid. Inside, huddled together were Whiskers, Nibbles, and Sandy. They were scared. They were a little thin. But they were alive. They were safe. Paul's eyes filled with tears of relief. He gently scooped them up. He held them close to his heart. He whispered soft words to them. The journey back home was different. It was filled with joy and gratitude. His small apartment felt alive again. The sounds of tiny feet returned. Paul knew this adventure had changed him. It showed him his own strength. It deepened his love for his furry friends. Life in Claremont was good once more.